Am once again, as always, late to the party. And this is the fourth month of since I began my transition. This is the most recent entry, I guess, as of the time I'm making this, of my transition diary. I will link the previous videos down below. I compiled the first 3 months into one, or 3.5 months, into one giant monstrous video. This one will be much shorter. So this is already a week later than I intended. We're technically at, how many weeks is that? Well, 5 weeks since the 3 months, so it's a week late. Math, not my strong suit. But yes, this is a week later because I have been sick. My voice is still not exactly doing particularly well. I had the flu for the past week, and I'm even now still recovering it. Unfortunately, as much as I do love living in Hanoi, Hanoi has some of the worst air pollution in the world, which is not great for your throat and your lungs and everything else. But anyway, with all that out of the way, we're going to talk today about two big things. They are, first, I want to talk a little bit about some physical changes that have been happening for a little while now. And also I want to talk about clothes. Clothes is, I think, when you're transitioning, a terrifying thing. So some people, of course, right, have been cross-dressing for a very long time and may already be familiar like with their sizes and how to deal with a lot of different things. I did not allow myself really to try any women's clothing at all. But yeah, let's start with talking about clothes because this has been great. This is a new little sweater that I got. I really like it. It's very comfortable. I got a few different skirts that I really like. But yeah, the first thing that made this actually a lot easier were just getting my measurements, right? Going down and picking up some measuring tape, getting my measurements, and with online shopping, you just find stuff that matches your measurements. And as long as you do it accurately, it takes a lot of the guesswork and stress out of it. As much as I do want to shop in person when I've tried, I'm not actually particularly large. I'm quite tall for a woman, but there are a lot of women much larger than me. The problem, though, is that the average Vietnamese woman is very, very small. And there are few experiences more dysphoric that I've had than trying to squeeze my body into some women's clothing that is far too small for me, or even just slightly too small, right? Like being sort of uncomfortable with your body makes that situation already a lot more fraught, really. But ordering stuff online, getting stuff that, like, I have the measurements ahead of time, I haven't had a problem yet. Everything I've ordered has actually fit really well. The one interesting thing, though, about clothes is I've found that skirts and pants are so much easier than tops because realistically, at least for me, like my legs are not huge, so it's much easier to find clothing that, yeah, I mean, the worst case scenario is like I don't quite fill out the hips because my hips are not shaped as a woman's, at least not yet. Not sure if that'll ever happen. Different people have had different experiences with that. But overall, right, putting on a skirt is easy. Tops are much more difficult. Not because they don't fit, but because finding something that has the silhouette that I want is a lot harder, right? My body is still fairly blocky, and that makes a lot of clothes just, I look like a guy wearing a top in a lot of cases, and that is obviously not ideal. So early on, and I know a lot of people have recommended this, so mostly so far what I've been doing is just trying to find things that are a little more loose, a little more flowy, right? And yeah, and so far that's largely worked. As my upper body shape changes, I'll probably, I hope, be able to wear stuff that's a bit tighter. Because realistically, like a lot of the women's tops that I really like are these like form-fitting tops that look great if you have the shape for it, which I obviously do not just yet. But yeah, so had a whole bunch of clothes, bunch of new skirts, bunch of new tops. That's been very exciting, despite being sick and everything else. Interesting thing though, physical changes. Right, mostly it's the same physical changes that I have had, that I've been experiencing already. Skin softer, hair growth seems to be slower. Like I've obviously been like shaving my arms and things like that. I haven't had to do it as much. The hair growth does seem to have slowed a bit, which is nice. That's been good. I don't know if my hair actually looks better. I started trying to play with a few different styles. I've been parting it on one side for so long, as you can see in the earlier videos, that it's actually like sticks up a bit on the side. It doesn't quite, it's not quite flat, even, no matter what I do to it. I assume it'll get there eventually if I keep changing styles. As far as hair, you can still sort of see beard growth. You can still see my upper lip a little bit. I have been in for one more laser session. And most of it's really well taken care of at this point, which has been nice. Other than that, the other big thing, and this actually started about a month ago. After I went back to Thailand, my estrogen dosage was upped from 2 pumps of estradiol to 3. And they said that after 1 month, if that's fine, I should try going up to 4 and see if there are any side effects or see if I still feel fine. And I feel great. So I've gone up to 4 and no real negative side effects. But I didn't mention this in the previous videos, but because it didn't seem to matter too much at the time, or rather it was not noticeable at this point. But about at the 3-month mark, or a little bit before that, my chest started to become a lot more sensitive. When I talked to the doctor, they said that is the sort of first indication of growth. And that's definitely happening now. It's minor enough that if I wear a tight t-shirt, I still look like a guy who does a lot of push-ups. But it's definitely more than that now. Not sure how far that's going to go or how fast it's going to be or if it will continue at the same pace. But it is reaching a point where it's noticeable and quite visible if I wear something fairly tight. So that's nice overall. Also, I think partially just because I've been sick, so I haven't been climbing, I haven't really been exercising, but my arms are definitely smaller. I've definitely lost muscle mass in my arms and in my shoulders a little bit, which, expected. And honestly, it's a good thing, especially for clothing and appearance. It's just going to make it a lot easier for me to wear the sorts of things that I want to wear. So, So that's been overall pretty nice. One last thing I do want to mention as an update, because I didn't do this before. I don't know why. I have finally left the house. I've only gone out to a few restaurants, like places with people who I'm familiar with. Right? A restaurant run by a friend of mine, a cafe that's owned also by a friend of mine, to a birthday party with a number of friends. And one thing that is definitely true is each time you do it, or at least each time I do it, it feels a little easier, right? The first time I left the house, it was absolutely terrifying. Just even walking out the door, it felt almost impossible. And I think around the fourth time that I went out, it just sort of felt like, okay, yeah, I'm doing this now. I still haven't tried to go out to some place, like just to go out in public among strangers by myself. That is not quite to that level of comfort yet, but getting there slowly. Yeah, so that's sort of where I'm at right now. I have been thinking about like putting together some other videos about things just related to my transition, related to my experience as an older trans woman before, in addition to like these diaries. And I have a couple of things in the works because I've been trying to think about like what would make my perspective unique. Well, not unique. Obviously, there are many people who've transitioned older than I have, but compared to a lot of things that are out there. And well, I do want to keep most of these really positive and light because my experience is really positive overall. I do think I am working on a video about the sort of long-term effects of dysphoria because I have lived with it effectively my entire life, from roughly age 14 or 15 until just this past year. And with a lot of the attention that is given to the sort of dangers and the permanence of transition, I can speak pretty clearly to the negative effects of not transitioning and of not getting gender affirming care of really any kind, because it's not a pleasant story. Most of these videos I do want to keep really positive because overall this is a beautiful and positive experience for me and has been. But at the same time, the road to getting here was extremely long and not great in a lot of respects. And I think if there's one thing that I can speak to as an experience, really it's that. So that's something that I'm looking to put together here in the next couple of weeks. Again, everything's sort of been delayed by about a week because of having the flu and being really sick. But yeah, so other than that, everything's going really, really well. I've been trying to use like hair oil and stuff to try and like tame this a bit. Not sure how I feel about it. It does feel a bit softer. It still looks kind of meh, but do what we can. At any rate, that's what I have for you today, and probably for this month. And I hope all of you are doing well out there. I hope all of you take care of each other, and I will see you again real soon.